History loves a clean timeline. Cultures evolve, tools improve, and knowledge moves predictably from fire pits to fiber optics. But every now and then something gets dug up that refuses to play along. Artifacts that don't just feel out of place, they break the rules. These are the relics that make archaeologists whisper, make historians blink, and make institutions shuffle them out of sight. Not because they're dangerous in the Indiana Jones sense, but because they don't belong. So join us for today's video as we count down 15 forbidden artifacts that are too strange to be real. Number 15. The Zanzibar Metal Sphere. In the scorched landscape of the Kalahari, a series of metallic spheres began to surface in the 1970s. The most infamous came from Tanzania, near Zanzibar, a smooth silver-gray orb, perfectly symmetrical, with a shallow groove etched around its circumference. It didn't look forged, and it definitely didn't look natural. Measuring about a foot across, the sphere was too perfect to ignore. When analyzed, the alloy composition didn't match anything produced locally. It wasn't junk from a satellite. It wasn't military scrap. It was hollow, impossibly tough, and resistant to any known form of corrosion. Some locals reported seeing fireballs fall from the sky just before the discovery. Theories emerged: space debris, alien tech, or even ancient sky worship relics. Scientists called it a geofact, then quietly backed away. The truth is, this thing didn't match any standard model of earthly origin. It fell, it survived, and now it waits, quietly stored, labeled, but not understood. Whatever made it didn't leave instructions. Number 14. The Fuente Magna Bowl. Deep in Bolivia, near Lake Titicaca, a ceramic bowl was pulled from the soil. At first glance, it looked local, carved figures, ceremonial shapes. But when scholars took a closer look, their jaws hit the floor. The bowl's inner rim wasn't Incan or Andean. It was covered in Sumerian cuneiform, the written language of ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of miles and oceans from where it should have been. Researchers tried everything to explain it away: hoax, misinterpretation, modern forgery. But language experts confirmed the symbols weren't random. They were consistent, readable, and matched texts from ancient Sumer. The odds of a forger in rural Bolivia crafting a perfect imitation of a 5,000-year-old script, near zero. If the bowl's real, it means Sumerians reached South America long before Columbus, before Vikings, before even myth. It suggests contact between civilizations that supposedly never met. The implications are enormous and incredibly inconvenient. Most museums won't acknowledge it, not because it's fantasy, but because it might be the truth, written in the wrong place. Number 13. The Band of Holes. Along the barren ridges of the Pisco Valley in Peru, a strange formation stretches across the desert, hundreds of perfectly cut holes, each about 3 feet wide and just as deep, arranged in an eerie, organized line. Locals have walked past them for centuries. No one knows who carved them. They don't form burial grounds, they're not aqueducts, and they're far too uniform to be accidental. From the sky, the line looks deliberate, like a message or a map or a ledger chiseled into the earth. Some believe the Inca used them for accounting purposes. Each hole a unit of trade, a kind of physical tally system. Others think they're older than the Inca, created by a civilization that left no name and no cities. There's no inscription, no tools nearby, no pattern of settlement. The Band of Holes remains an open wound in Peru's archaeological record. Too clean, too massive, and far too strange to be filed under forgotten pathways. What do you think? Number 12. The Laladov Plate. This unassuming stone disc, discovered in Nepal and attributed to ancient India, has become a quiet lightning rod in forbidden archaeology. Known as the Laladov Plate, it's dated to at least 7000 BCE and carved with geometric patterns, spirals, and one unmistakable image, a humanoid figure with an enlarged head standing beside what clearly resembles a classic flying saucer. It's not a stretch. It's not vaguely similar. It's literal. That's what makes this artifact so polarizing. Mainstream scholars call it coincidence, pareidolia, or misinterpretation. But no one can deny that the disc is real. It's currently stored in relative obscurity, rarely spoken about in serious circles, quietly too strange to accept, and too specific to ignore. If the carving is taken at face value, it suggests someone thousands of years ago saw or wanted to depict technology far beyond anything their civilization should have encountered. It's not about belief in aliens. It's about asking how such precise imagery made it into a stone disc crafted when metal tools barely existed. Number 11. The Book of Veles. Carved onto wooden planks in a language few can fully decipher, the Book of Veles tells the story of Slavic tribes stretching back over a millennium. If it's real, it rewrites early European history. If it's a fake, it's one of the most elaborate forgeries ever created, complete with mythological consistency, cultural nuance, and linguistic evolution. The text spans 1,200 years of genealogy, migration, religious transformation, and ancient rituals. It's deeply reverent to Veles, a pagan god of earth, cattle, and the underworld. The problem? Well, the Soviet Union banned the book. Russia still refuses to officially acknowledge it. Some linguists dismiss it as an invention from the 20th century. Others argue that the language matches an early form of Cyrillic and couldn't have been recreated without deep scholarly access. No one can find the original planks, only photos and transcriptions. It's the kind of document that feels too detailed to be fantasy and too inconvenient to be history, which might be why it vanished quietly. Number 10. The Nazca Astronaut. Most people hear Nazca lines and picture animals: the hummingbird, the spider, the monkey. But perched on a rugged cliffside above the rest is a lesser-known figure that's hard to ignore: the so-called Nazca astronaut. It's not graceful or symbolic. It's a towering humanoid with a bulbous head, massive eyes, and an arm raised skyward. Discovered from the air during aerial mapping in the 20th century, it doesn't match the style or intention of the other glyphs. It looks out of place, almost as if it's waving at something above. Locals had no explanation. Older accounts never mentioned it. The figure sits apart from the classic lines on rougher terrain, and it's significantly more humanoid than anything else in the region. Researchers who've studied it are split. Some call it a mythological being. Others say it's just an artistic flourish. But its size, shape, and eerie presence say otherwise. It's either a warning or something else entirely, and no one's ready to admit which. Number 9. The Heliosphere. Unearthed near the base of the Athenian Acropolis, this marble sphere wasn't supposed to mean much. A weathered orb carved with strange symbols, it was set aside in a museum catalog in the 1800s. But under deeper scrutiny, its meaning slipped further from reach. One side shows Helios, the sun god, enthroned, ordinary enough, but surrounding him are creatures that don't fit. Part lion, part dog, and constellations unknown to Greek astronomy. Alchemical symbols twist across its surface, half erased, half encoded. The orb doesn't follow Greek myth, it barely follows logic. It was found beneath the theater of Dionysus, where bloody duels and mystical rites once took place. Some historians believe it was used in forbidden rituals, others suspect it's a prank left by a rebellious philosopher, but none deny it holds power, because nobody can decipher it, and nobody has dared replicate it. If it was meant to summon something, it's better we never find out what. And if it wasn't, then someone sure wanted us to think it could be. Number 8. The Sabu Bowl. It sits in the dusty halls of the Cairo Museum, quietly mislabeled as a ritual vessel. But the Sabu Bowl, carved from a single piece of stone over 5,000 years ago, is anything but ceremonial. It's wafer-thin, perfectly symmetrical. 3 curving fins extend from a central hub, shaped with such precision that modern engineers struggle to recreate it without cracking the stone. It was found in the tomb of Prince Sabu, a high-ranking official during Egypt's first dynasty, but nothing else from that period matches its design. Some say it's a lamp, others claim it's a decorative dish, but if you showed this to a turban designer, they'd see something else entirely: a primitive impeller, a component that channels air or liquid using centrifugal force. Except the tools needed to make such a thing didn't exist then, at least not officially. Its purpose remains unknown, but its shape betrays a function no one wants to name. It's not a symbol, it's a puzzle disguised as a bowl. What do you think? What is it? Well, let us know. Number 7. The Sacro Catino. It's green, it glows, and for centuries, it was believed to be cut from a single emerald. The Sacro Catino sits in Genoa, Italy, drawing crowds not just for its beauty but for the legend tied to it. It was once thought to be the Holy Grail, the dish used by Christ at the Last Supper. Taken as war bounty during the Crusades in 1101, it was treated as sacred for nearly a millennium. The twist is that Napoleon's men tested it centuries later and found out it wasn't emerald at all. It was just glass. Old glass, possibly Islamic but not divine. Yet it remains in the Museo del Tesoro as an object of veneration. Because even after the glamour was stripped away, the mystery only deepened. Who made it? Why such a perfect forgery? And why was it revered long before anyone thought to test it? In a world addicted to proof, the Sacro Catino still demands belief, not in what it is, but in the shadow it casts. Number 6. The Silpho Saucer. In 1957, 3 men hiking near the Yorkshire moors in England stumbled upon something bizarre, an object shaped like a flying saucer, no bigger than a dinner plate, weighing nearly 15 kilograms, and sealed tight. It wasn't just strange, it was filled. Inside were thin copper sheets, etched with over 2,000 microscopic characters in a language no one could identify. The object, quickly dubbed the Silpho Saucer, was examined, dismissed, laughed at, and then quietly stored in obscurity. Years later, fragments resurfaced at the Science Museum in London. Metallurgists concluded the construction was unreasonably advanced for something found in the 1950s. The inscriptions, still unreadable. No one ever confirmed whether it was real, planted, or something else entirely. But here's the kicker. Every piece was collected and hidden, piece by piece, as if someone wanted it out of sight more than understood. Whether it's a hoax or a forgotten signal, doesn't matter. It exists. It shouldn't. And it was buried not by time, but by deliberate silence. Number 5. The Sri Lanka meteorite fossils. In 2012, a meteorite exploded over Sri Lanka. Debris rained down. Scientists gathered samples. That's when it got strange. Inside fragments of the rock were structures, cell-like, organic, but fossilized. Diatoms, they said. Microorganisms encased in extraterrestrial stone, not contamination, not from Earth. Detailed scanning ruled out recent intrusion. These were fossilized life forms inside a meteorite, originating outside our planet. If accurate, that changes everything. It would mean life didn't start here. It arrived, carried on ancient stone, panspermia, the theory goes. And this was its smoking gun. The scientific community hesitated. Some accepted it, most avoided it. NASA didn't comment. Journals dragged their feet because proving life came from space doesn't just shake biology, it guts it. The Sri Lankan team stood firm. The evidence was there, but the conversation never reached the headlines. Because if we admit the seeds of life didn't begin on Earth, we lose control of the story. This wasn't just an impact. It was a whisper from the stars, and we're still pretending we didn't hear it. All right, now, let's move to number 4, the Ica stones. In the dry caves of Ica, Peru, thousands of carved stones turned up in the 1960s, some depicting animals, other scenes of medical surgery, and several that sparked absolute panic. Men in robes performing organ transplants. Dinosaurs and humans share the same space. What looked like brain surgery, X-ray-like imagery. The stones vary in size and polish, but the carvings are etched with a precision that implies foreknowledge, not only of anatomy but of species science says never coexisted. Skeptics screamed forgery. A few locals even admitted to carving fakes, yet couldn't replicate the deep oxidation found on the most detailed stones. Others were unearthed decades earlier by farmers and quietly hoarded. That part doesn't get mentioned often. What if some were real? What if ancient peoples preserved knowledge they didn't invent but inherited? The Ica stones teeter between ridicule and revelation, not because of what they show, but because of what we're afraid they might prove. The past is full of myths. Number 3. The Nepalese sky disk. Buried under centuries of Himalayan soil, this bronze disk emerged with little fanfare until someone tried to read it. Roughly a foot wide, heavily corroded, and etched with nested rings and strange symbols, it looked like some kind of ritual plate. But one researcher noticed something familiar. The markings resembled alignments of the moon and sun, just not from Earth's current sky. After astronomical modeling, the results were disturbing. The disk tracks eclipses, lunar cycles, and planetary motion based on axial tilt from over 30,000 years ago. That's older than any known civilization. That's mammoth hunter territory. And yet this object charts a sky only visible when Earth's orientation is completely different. Was it passed down, copied from something older, or left behind by someone, or something that was here long before humans kept time? No institution has accepted the date publicly. It would crack every timeline we rely on. The disk is now locked in private archives. All that's left are photos on the internet. Number 2. The Koso geode. It looked like a rock. Just another geode sitting in a dusty Californian plain until it cracked open and exposed something that didn't belong: metal, a ceramic core, and signs of machining. Discovered by 3 rock collectors in 1961, the Koso artifact immediately raised red flags. The geode's rock matrix? Hundreds of thousands of years old. The object inside? A near replica of a modern spark plug. There was no trick, no visible tampering. The mineral buildup alone would take eons to form under natural conditions. One of the discoverers tried to get it analyzed, but after some preliminary photos and local buzz, the artifact disappeared. What remained was a single surviving X-ray that showed a symmetrical coil, perfectly aligned internal components, and metallic density inconsistent with natural formation. It never reappeared. Whether it was buried by time or intent, the implications are the same. Someone made a technological object long before they were supposed to know what electricity was. And that's not just strange, it's forbidden. Number 1. The genetic disk. From the deep soil of Colombia came a black lyddite disk, harder than granite, smooth as glass, and covered in carvings that suggest either genius or madness. Around 12 inches in diameter, the so-called genetic disk is engraved with symbols that eerily resemble human cells, sperm, eggs, zygotes, and fetal development stages. One side appears to show the full gestational process from fertilization to birth, with clarity that shouldn't have existed in any pre-Columbian culture. The other side? Still debated. Lyddite isn't forgiving, it chips, it fractures. And yet this disc holds precision lines carved so finely, they might as well have been etched with lasers. No tools of the time could manage it. No cultural framework explains the imagery. There's no context, no writings, no burial or ceremonial tie-ins, just a disc that looks like it came from a biological textbook written by someone who watched life evolve under a microscope. Whoever made this didn't guess, they knew. That's the part that unsettles people the most. If you've enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.